I can guarantee you this, we all want to make it, but we probably don't know how. And that's what we're trying to do here at Muno by speaking to the people who have and who know how. And we're bringing the experts right to your screen. Welcome to A Word from the Wise.
Word to the wise, I'm a G, you don't know me. I just tripled last month and this whole week. Double time 06 and an OG. Shorty kissing on my neck, says she know me. Yeah.
Ngoni, welcome to our show, our presentation of sorts where we're talking about mastering skills, mastering professions, and yeah, we want to learn from you. We want to be inspired by your story, and so that's what we're trying to do here. So welcome to our show.
Thanks, Godfrey. Thank you for inviting me.
No, it's a pleasure. And I think if it's a profession, if it's something that you take seriously as your trade, you work hard or you work over a period of time, what do you do to relax, to chill? If it's leisure, recreation, how do you take it easy?
Okay, I think that's a very good question. I think it's important, like no matter how hard you're working, to have, to relax, to rest, to get some rest. So for me, I like taking walks, right? Just with my headphones, with my music. And I also, there's some channels I follow on YouTube which are just for entertainment. Like I don't get any, I would say, educational value for them. I just watch them just for entertainment purposes. There are channels which I watch for educational purposes, but then there are channels which I know that I'm just here to refresh, to relax. So yeah, that's basically me. I do like to travel here and there. But I mean, on a day-by-day basis, I like to make sure that I take a walk just to refresh, to relax, and also watch a bit of YouTube. Yes.
If it is your favorite beverage, right, whether it's water, juice, or a little kick, which beverage best describes you and why?
See, I've never been asked this question ever in my life. So I unofficially quit soft drinks. I would say Coke, Coca-Cola, because it's we know what it is. You know exactly how Coca-Cola tastes, and it's a worldwide brand. It's known for being Coke. It's known for it's a drink whereby you can bring it up in any environment, any gathering. You can ask for a bottle of Coke, and they're highly likely to have it. I think I would say, well, for me, well, the brand itself is what I would want to identify with more than the drink itself. But yeah, I would say Coke because it's become such a very powerful brand in the world, and we know how it tastes like, and it's very consistent, right? So yeah, I would say Coca-Cola.
Okay, that's a brilliant answer. For the first time that question's been asked to you, that's a very, very good answer. And I'll give you one more just to throw the span in the works there. Let's say you are a script writer, yes, right? And there you're going to prepare to write a movie. What would your movie be about, and who or what would be the main character?
Okay. This is a very interesting question. So I'd want to tell an entertaining but inspirational story. I like science fiction. So I'd want an inspirational story which has some science fiction elements, but I guess which just speaks about the human journey, about how when someone is when they're up against like a lot of odds, but then they still succeed. I don't know if you've watched the movie Gravity, where literally the actress is out in space and things go wrong, but then she still fights and perseveres and manages to come back on Earth. So I think I would tell a story along those veins, that the character would be faced by a lot of circumstances that most people would think, oh, they should just give up, there's no hope. But then through perseverance, I would want them to then, keep fighting until they succeed in the end. I think that's the story I would want to tell.
Okay, I like that. And I think if we're talking about stories, every story has a beginning, right? And so for you as a professional, as an entrepreneur, can you tell us a bit about your beginning, your background, and if there can be any traces to your background to where you are today?
Okay. I think with my career and just my work ethic in general, I can trace it back to grade 1. So I actually do have a story to tell. Yeah. So the school which my parents wanted me to start my grade 1, right? It was a very popular school in a small town, and they only took children who were born from January to June of a specific year. Yeah. I was born in July. But my parents wanted me to start grade 1 when I was 7 years old, right? Like what most people everywhere else in the country did. So they tried to get me a place at that school, and they refused, right? My mom tried to ask the headmaster, and was like, no, the grade 1 class was full. So I actually then went back to preschool. They found a different preschool. I think they just felt bad that they didn't want me to repeat at the same preschool, so they got me to a different preschool. But 2 months down the line, I think there was then some space in the grade 1 class. My mom bumped into the headmaster in the supermarket, and just like, no, if your child isn't doing anything, you can just bring him, then he can just play with the others this year and repeat next year. My mom was quite happy. She took me to class, and the grade 1 teacher was like to my mom, you're very stubborn. Your child is going to fail grade 1, and he's going to be demotivated by education and will be a failure the rest of his life. And I was there listening. And my mom, was like, no, it's okay, we'll see. She then, for the rest of that year, she gave me extra lessons. This is grade 1. So whilst other kids were playing or watching cartoons, I had extra lessons for grade 1. And at the end of the year, I was top of my class. I got the award for the top achiever in grade 1. And I think that's really shaped my work ethic. Like, I think from such an early age, I could definitely tell that if you put in the extra work and effort, you can achieve the goals you set out to achieve. And that you shouldn't let people dictate what you can or what you cannot do. So I think also that same attitude sort of affected how long it took for me to decide which field to go in. Because not to brag or anything, but I did well in a wide variety of subjects. I would put in the extra time and effort, and I was doing all right. So it's only after I finished my high school, I had a gap year. There's a friend, she had a blog she was doing on WordPress, and then WordPress wasn't giving her the creativity she wanted to, she thought she could express herself better if she had her own website. So we were just talking one day, and I was like, no, I have free time. I'm not doing anything right now. Let me see if I can actually make a website for you. And yeah, that's when I first got the interest in computer science, and I was like 19 that year. And yeah, I think, however, I'd already decided at that time that I was going to try accounting. There was this opportunity to start working as an auditor straight from high school. So I'd already gotten a place. But I got there, I was doing my accounting there at PwC, but in my free time I was doing web development. And then after a year and a half, I was like, you know what, I'm not enjoying auditing. PwC is a great company, and this is a great opportunity, but I have something I'm passionate about. I have something whereby after work, when I'm tired, I'm still putting in the time and effort in. So yeah, I made the big leap of faith. Had long and difficult conversations with my parents, and I came to study computer science.
Nice. Yes. And I mean, if we talk about your passions and what you love doing, can you highlight what you love the most about what you do?
Okay. So what I love the most about what I do, it's just computer science. It's both an art and a science, right? The science part is you need to learn how to give computers instructions, right? But then the art part is like you get to choose what instructions you want to give the computer. So you can dream up an idea, you can have an idea that, no, I want a computer to do this and that and that and that. I want an interface to look like this or that or that. And then you build it. So for me, that's what really excites me, the fact that you start with an idea, it allows you to be creative, there is a technical side to it, but then you can actually solve problems which will have an impact on many people's lives. You can create things which will be a benefit to many people. You can create things even which you yourself will just enjoy. So I think that's what makes me very happy about what I do.
Yeah. And as a computer science, can you share, I guess, with, you know, as it has been your journey when you started, some of your first and maybe your best success thus far, what it is and how it's made you feel about what you do?
Okay. My best success, I think I'll mention 3 things. The first thing is, so as I mentioned, I only started computer science when, at the age of 19. That's when I was exposed to programming. Well, it was first just web development. And so when I came to study computer science, I had very little exposure to the field as compared to other people who have had done a bit of it in high school. So I came to the University of Pretoria, and they would release people's marks in a PDF, and you'd see everyone's marks. And I was getting 50s for my computer science modules, and there were people who were getting 90s, and I was just like, how? You know, but this is something that happens to a lot of people who, if you are good in maths and physics, it doesn't immediately translate to you being good in programming, right? So I see lots of people who are also like me in those shoes, but I decided to make it a point that I would get to a point where I was getting the marks I used to get for maths and science in high school in computer science. So I think one of my the first achievement I'm going to talk about is I did manage to graduate with a distinction. But yeah, it took a lot. Weekends, sleepless nights, but I think for me it was just proving that it can be done, and it's something I really wanted to do, just for myself and also to inspire other people, because I think there was actually even like computer science even has a bad connotation even when it comes to race. Some people think that black people can't do certain things in the field, when it's just a matter of that exposure, right? So I told myself, though, since I didn't spend high school programming, I would catch up during my weekends, catch up during like late at night, because it's just a matter of that exposure. That's what would give people the edge. So my first achievement was, the first one I want to mention was graduating with distinction. And then the second one is, during that time, I also founded a startup, and we were the best tech startup at the University of Pretoria in 2018, and then we were actually incubated by the university. It's called Letterbox. Basically, we built a customer engagement and customer feedback collection platform, and we built a web app, an iOS app, and an Android app for that. And we managed to get an interview with the CEO of Y Combinator in San Francisco. That was like a dream come true for me, just the interview, because that's the same incubator which companies like Dropbox and Twitch went through. So I mean, when I was applying, people were like, "Dude, are you crazy?" But we still went for it. To apply the first year, we didn't make it. In the second year, that's when I actually made it to the interview. We didn't make it to be incubated by them, but then just that interview, speaking to him, getting to share my idea, our idea as a team with him, that was really amazing. Then I think from a job perspective, I got an interview with Amazon in Luxembourg. So I got a point like in my final year, because the startup wasn't a big financial success as we hoped, so I needed to get a job. So I started job hunting. This was in September of the year, and I needed to get a job. So I literally sat down, got a Word document, and I think I applied to like more than 40 places in the space of a week, because I was late to applying. I had friends who had applied for jobs in like February, March, and they'd gotten their jobs for the next year. I was only starting in September. So yeah, I made it to the finals of this Amazon interview. They flew me to Luxembourg. I was there for a week, and it was just a great learning experience. I had an entire month to prepare for that interview. I wasn't doing anything, just interview preparations, because of how tough such interviews are. So I think that's the third achievement I just wanted to mention. But I am very happy the way I'm working right now. I'm at BBD, and it's the biggest software development house here in Southern Africa.
And so if we're looking at successes, if we're looking at what you've achieved, I would imagine that a lot of sacrifice has gone into it. especially if you're investing in something. And so what have some of your sacrifices been? What do they look like? I mean, if you're trying to inspire other people and teach other people, like, what does it take in terms of what you sacrifice to get where you are?
I'll just say you have to be really willing to do something, all right? And it takes time and effort. Like, you have to give up on certain things which other people will be doing who are not maybe chasing after things that you're chasing. You just have to be aware of it, right? So if I can talk about like how my work schedule was when I was working towards a distinction, because literally there was a time in my third year, in the second semester, where I actually sat down and calculated what I needed to get, like in the 4 modules that I had, like what marks I needed for me to actually get the distinction. Because my overall average was 76%, distinction is 75. So like I was right there by the line, I was literally working for it. So I realized that I needed to get at least about, I think 85, above 85 for my 3 computer science modules, right? I'd never gotten such marks. And so that term, well, that semester, I would work until 12 midnight in the library. So I'd finish my day. So I'd actually, basically, I just told myself I should pretend like I'm back in high school, right? So I'd go on campus every day at 8:30. Whether I had lectures or not, I would start my day at 8:30 on campus. And then at 5:30, I would go back to Rez, eat food, I would sleep for like an hour. Then I'd go back to the library. I would be at the library from 8 to 11. So that was my work schedule for an entire semester. Then Saturday, same thing. Saturday, I would be in the library, 8:30. Then Sunday after church, at 2:30, I would be in the library. But it's something I was chasing after, and I did end up getting 85, 85, 85 for those 3 modules, like on the dot. And I was very happy about that. But then, yeah, this was a big sacrifice. And as I think I just hinted before that my friend and I were actually working on starting a tutoring company, which will tutor kids, children from the age of 8 to 16, like basic computer science principles. Because I don't think everyone should go through this. Yeah, like I think I went through this because I was trying to catch up for that time where I didn't get exposure to computer science. So I just feel like it would be much better if we do provide an opportunity for other young children. We've just done a few interviews with some parents, and they value things like swimming and music as hobbies which they pay for their kids. And we just strongly believe that they should also just have a bit of exposure to programming. I think our goal is not to make everyone a computer science, but just to give them that exposure, then they can make an informed decision. But yeah, I digress. I think it was about the struggle. And
I can see that, yeah, you sacrificed a lot of time to do to achieve what you wanted to achieve. But I think as we progress, we definitely win in certain areas and we also lose in certain areas. What is your attitude towards mistakes as you've learned what you've learned in your profession, and how do you deal with them? Are there any regrets? Yeah.
I think that's a very good question, and I think a lot of people are afraid. A lot of people don't end up doing things because they're afraid of making mistakes. But mistakes are a part of life, and we just need to take them as to just learn from them, right? So I think one prominent mistake I can point out to, I think I've spoken to a lot of people who want to start like startups, tech startups, right? And I think one thing which I would consider a mistake is when we were developing like Letterbox, the initial version, right? We spent, I think, 2 years developing the platform before we actually got it in the hands of customers, right? Because I think our idea was that we needed to have the best possible app, the best possible technology to actually test out our idea. So there's a time when we spent, I think it was like 4 months, building an inbuilt chat system in the platform. So we basically built a WhatsApp clone within our platform because we thought this was needed. And when we actually then ended up testing it with customers, I think it was only 3 or 4 customers who were using this feature. It wasn't like essential to test out our idea. Then we also spent 4 months building what we call letterbox stories. Basically, these were based on like WhatsApp status updates or Instagram stories. These ended up being quite successful on the platform, but then they were not essential for us to test out the idea, because basically a startup is an experiment, right? And with an experiment, you need to move as quickly as you can to test out your idea with your customer base. So I just addressing people who are interested in starting startups, you don't need to have the greatest app out there. I think with an MVP, minimum viable product, you're advised to spend no more than 2 months of development on it before you get it into the hands of your customers. We spent 2 years. So you then, because we actually realized, yes, it was great from a technical perspective, right? We did built in a lot of amazing features, but then with the startup, it's about building features that will be of value to your customers. So I think that's what I would consider a mistake that I've made and I've learned from. I think now, even with what I mentioned, EasyCode, the tutoring company, I told my partner that we're not going to write a single line of code until we've spoken to at least 20 customers who are interested, who want to use this product before we even do anything. Yeah. So we've already started interviewing parents about this notion, about this idea, and getting as much feedback as we can from them. And what we're actually going to start off with will be quite basic. I think when people see it, they'll probably assume that we are not computer science people, but we are. Both of us are technical people, but then it's just using what we've learned in the past to make sure that, okay, you just need the minimum, you just need enough tech to test out your idea for your startup. You don't need to have something that can beat Facebook or Instagram at what they do best.
Yeah. Okay. And what would you tell your younger self in the light of mistakes, in the light of challenges?
So they actually have, I think this was very popular at Facebook. They actually got in trouble a few times for using this phrase, but it's move fast and fail fast. And, but basically it's the concept that try out things, right? When you're trying out things, know that it may work out, it might not work out. But then don't spend months just thinking about something without trying it, because you might never know how it turns out. Yeah. So I think I'll just tell my younger self, go for things, right? And go for things with an open mind. Yeah. Things might not work out the way you expect, but they might work out the way you expect. You learn from that, you move on. Because I think I used to be someone who was really afraid of failure, but now I think when something doesn't work out the way I expect it to, I ask myself, okay, what have I learned from this? Because you learn from everything. Especially if something doesn't work out the way you expect it to, it's a very, very good learning experience than if something works out the way that you wanted it to. Yeah.
And so you're actually seeing growth as a person, as an individual, as a professional in your journey, yeah?
Yes.
And can you actually also map out what it looks like for some people that are trying out these things, that growth looks like this? Can you share a few things on that?
Okay.
Like examples of growth, that I used to do this, now I do that, or I used to see things this way, now I see things that way.
Okay. I think an example of growth is I think I'll just build up on the previous question when we're discussing failure, right? I think being open to failure, and also I've learned to ask dumb questions. I think I've been to many places where they're like, it's okay to ask dumb questions, right? But I don't think people take it as seriously as they could. I was one person who wouldn't want to ask questions. In university, I didn't attend, so when you get in a practical, right, there were these tutor sessions where you could go, and if you were stuck with your practical, you could get help from tutors. I had too much pride to do that, but then sometimes I would spend 6 hours on a problem maybe where I could have just asked someone, and 5 minutes later I would have figured it out and moved on. So especially now, especially with my career at BBD, right, I can't waste the company's time. I can't spend 6 hours because of pride. You just need to be able to have the humility to go to the next person and be like, oh, I'm stuck here, please help me out. And especially in computer science, right, it's a very fast-moving industry. There's always new technologies to learn. So you're never in a situation where you know everything, right? You just have to be open to reaching out to people around you, asking for help, being open to learn from people around you. So I think that's definitely something where I've noticed progress, because when I was in university, I would not ask for help. I would spend as much time as I can until I figured it out. At least try by yourself. But if you get to a point where you realize that, no, maybe I actually don't have the knowledge to be able to move on, or maybe someone else has this knowledge that you need, then be open to just have a quick discussion with them, get the help you need, learn and move on.
Nice. And you mentioned that the industry is very fast-paced, it advances very, very quickly. What are your hopes for the industry in the future and your place in the industry?
Okay. I love Africa. So I hope in my lifetime for Africa to actually become a tech powerhouse. You hear stories of places like Kenya with their payment platforms there and how successful they've been, and how other countries are actually studying to see how they're doing things. I think we have a vast potential as a continent, and I just really want to see like Africa succeed from a technological perspective. I think there's so much that we can harness technology to do to solve some of Africa's very own problems. So I think the industry, I'd want the industry to be more accessible to people around the world, but especially here in Africa, I would want to see like Africa become technologically advanced, and to actually become a continent that's a tech powerhouse, and that other continents can look to, you know, for tech ideas and to learn from.
Yeah, and I think you're highlighting problem solving, right? And so I think I would like to know, as we close, just what that process looks like for you, and also how we can learn to problem solve from a computer scientist's point of view.
Okay. I think, problem solving from a computer scientist's point of view, so like when we code, we are advised to break down a problem into smaller pieces, right? I think you hear people throwing around the word modules, right? Like independent units of code that you can easily test and verify that they work the way that you want them to work. So I think you can also apply that same principle to life's problems. Like sometimes if someone just mentions that, okay, maybe you are new to computer science and you want to actually just get that degree, or you want your startup to succeed, right? Don't look at it as just one big problem that you're facing. Break it down into smaller pieces, break it down into smaller problems. I'm a software engineer, but I still use pen and paper. Even when I work, I jot things down, I do to-do lists, I break things down into steps so that I tackle one thing at a time. And it works in computer science. I've also seen it working in my day-to-day life, where something seems insurmountable. It seems like you can't achieve it, but then once you break it down into smaller steps, smaller pieces, and you tackle it one step at a time, I've seen that to be quite effective in my experience.
Yeah, and that's really good. I think I'll take that when you say, if it's the broken down wins, it becomes an overall win.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and so just with your closing words, words of advice, words of wisdom to young and aspiring professionals, entrepreneurs, computer scientists, what would you say?
You can do it. But no, honestly, like, don't let anyone dictate what you can or what you cannot do. Like, I personally believe that if you put in the time and effort, you can do anything. You can do whatever you want to do, whatever you set out to do. This is a bit random, but I'm learning French, and I got on a Udemy course, and they were just explaining that there are more than 200 million people who speak French, and they were saying that if such a large number of people can speak a language, then you can do it too. So I think my advice is if anything has been done by other human beings, right, then you can also do it. I think you just need to find out, okay, what did they do, what steps did they take, what was the process. Also, Rome wasn't built in a day. I think it's also very important to see where people started off. So I think in the tech space, there's what they call the Wayback Machine, where you can see previous versions of sites, like websites.
So you can actually go there and see what Facebook looked like in 2004 when it was launched.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that can be quite a big inspiration if you are starting up a tech startup or anything really, just to see where some of these big tech giants or big companies started from. Because they started off very simple, you know, and then over time they've gone to a point where we feel like, you know, no one could ever get to this stage, or no one can ever make a dent in this industry or a dent in this space, but they started off somewhere. So yeah, I'll just sum it up that you can do whatever you set out to do, and don't be intimidated by success that is accumulated over time. Just look where someone started off, and you can also get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. And guys, those are the words of wisdom, and I hope that you have learned something. I certainly have.